What's up, party people? This is Tarkus Jude Mossberg here, talking to you from Alaska. And someone made a question today about how there's fewer and fewer eBay sales, eBay sales to try to help people decide values of books, comic books. There's fewer and fewer eBay sold values, and they were assuming that meant there's lower sales because everybody has to sell on eBay, and that just means there's lower sales, so nobody's buying. But a couple comments. One, I wasn't sure if they were talking about graded or raw, because for raws, you really are relying on eBay's past sales. Yeah, you can use cover price, but I don't really like their data. And it just pulls from eBay, basically. And there's a formula built in, so you could have a lower grade that shows to be worth more than a higher grade, which doesn't even make sense. But graded values, there's something going on that maybe a lot of people don't know that just rely on eBay past sales. One, if you're going to be buying graded books, you probably should have a subscription to GPA. $11 a month. If you're just buying $20, $30 graded books, which are very, very cheap graded books, then maybe you don't want to get GPA. But if you're going to be getting any kind of bigger book, you really should have GPA. I know people that buy $1,000 books and don't have GPA. For the life of me, I can't understand why. There is about 20 different sites that do sales for graded books and report to GPA. That's why GPA is better. They Go Collect and Cover Price maybe take in 4 to 5 places. It just depends on if the person's wanting to advertise with them and pay to get their data marketed on those websites and or sales reflected on those websites. Some people I know only work with GPA. They don't even try to do marketing through Go Collect or Cover Price, especially if you're a Cover Price member, but you're using it on the CLZ app, then you're not able to get access to the people that are subscribers don't see the ads on Cover Price, so maybe it doesn't make sense to advertise on Cover Price. So what a lot of people don't understand is those are the 20 sites that report. I watch 30 auction houses daily. None of them report. A few of them do, but I've requested not to report mine, and they follow and say, okay. So there's so many new auction houses, so many new sites that don't pay for the extra marketing to advertise on GPA or Cover Price or Go Collect. Then they don't report their numbers, because they're not going to just report for free. They would be paying, and then they would be reporting. So they have to pay to report. So they could just not pay and not report. So all these auction houses that are selling wholesale basically are not reporting, and so there's more and more of those. There's I know just off the top of my head 3 or 4 people that just got into this auction business the last 3 or 4 years because so many people were selling during the last 3 or 4 years that anybody could post a sign and say, hey, we're an auction house, and it doesn't matter if they were getting 50% of fair market value. They still get their piece of the pie, and they don't really care. So the fact that fewer reported sales are on eBay, I think, is more of a function of sellers are sick of it. It's a buyer's market. Buyers can do not as described. They can return it for any reason whatsoever. They can just back out. There's a lot of manipulation going on in terms of me posting a book for sale, my wife winning the bid at a high bid, that gets reported GPA, and then I cancel the sale. You know, there's weird stuff going on. That just happened to me with the friend that was a seller, and I won the bid, and he canceled the order, and I paid him cash behind the table, and he still got reported even though it was not a real sale. So there's a lot of easy ways to manipulate that, but for the most part, that's 15%. 15% of $1,000 book's $150. It's 5% at one guy I know has a pretty big auction house, and other places are probably as little, if not, well, about the same, but not 15%. And then everything is going to be recorded revenue with eBay. You're going to get a 1099 with that. And a lot of other places you sell at, PayPal, Friends and Family, Venmo, Comic Collector, not Comic Collector. I don't think that they report that sales data. You don't have to pay tax when you buy off them, and I don't think that they're getting paid a 1099. I could be wrong on that though. So there's a lot of reasons why people are moving away from eBay. Whatnot is blowing up. None of that's reported, and it's not reportable income. Instagram. Now, again, if they're doing the order through Whatnot, doing the order through the Instagram store, then maybe it is reported and taxed. But I know people that do it on Instagram where you pay, and they advertise a no fee payment price. And then if it's a fee payment, then the price goes up. But a no fee payment means Venmo, PayPal, Friends and Family. So you're seeing a lot more of that on Instagram. I bet you Whatnot is being processed through their engine, so there is tax added to each order, and then the revenue is reported, so that's different. But you got TikTok, you got every place. Someone asked me, why are you posting videos of comic books for sale on YouTube? Because it gets hits. I get people reaching out to me through YouTube. So social media is blowing up, and there's a lot of different, TikTok is going to be, is becoming a huge live video app as well. So I think eBay, not only are they behind in live video sales, and we assume that they're going to be able to catch up to Whatnot and TikTok, but they're in third place, but a far third place. The other two have been doing this a lot longer, and they're way bigger. And I keep seeing people trying to do this live video on eBay. I've never seen one. I don't know what it looks like. I keep seeing the ads on my comic book shop, and I've just never looked over there for live stuff. So we're going to find out if selling on eBay is becoming less and less appealing for comic book collectors, buyers, sellers. But no, sales are up. So if you're not seeing reported data on there, that's because they're using a lot of other platforms that charge a lot less. And if you're going to be doing graded, you wouldn't want to rely on eBay past sales anyways, because just because it says it sold for 400 doesn't mean it sold for 400. That could have been the listed price, but the seller gave the guy a special day of 300, so he paid 300, but eBay shows a $400 sale. So Go Collect and Cover Price report a $400 sale, but GPA scrubs the data and they report a $300 sale. Again, why use GPA? So if it's graded books, definitely you need to go to GPA. I tried the other two first because they were $1 cheaper a month, right? I wanted to save $1 a month, and in both cases it didn't work out. I think Go Collect is better now because you can see the covers. They have CBCS data. My guess is they're going to have PSA data as well. So if anything, I would use Go Collect if I wanted a second subscription. But Cover Price does weird things like, averaging out CGC sales with CBCS sales. And some people think that's smart, but if it's only a 5% difference, it might work. But in some cases, it's 100% different. One book's 500 and the CGC is 1,000. And I've used examples of that on this video. So averaging those out to 750 isn't helpful for CGC or CBCS data. So I'm not a big fan of their model. And I know other people are not a fan of the contrived models that they create, whereas GPA just shows real sales data. They don't use formulas to try to extrapolate what the fair market value is. They just show you what the recent sales are, and you can do your own analysis. But anyways, sales are up. If they're not selling books on eBay that you're seeing, it could be a one-off book. You could try My Comic Book Shop. So you're not necessarily looking at past sales, but you're looking to see what My Comic Shop is selling a book for. Other stores, you can look to see what they're selling for. It may not show past sales, but ours is not the only community that deals with this. Trying to get prices for cards, Pokemon cards, they don't have something like a GPA. They don't have a one-stop shop. They have different websites where you can sell on, just like My Comic Book Shop, and you might be able to see the sales data. I don't even know if you can see the sales, past sales on my comic book shop, but you can see what they're selling for on my comic shop. So anyways, I'm kind of glad that there's less and less data on eBay, to tell you the truth. I think sellers are sick of that model, not being taken seriously, not putting a priority, not valuing sellers, charging way too much, and then any buyer can rip you off just by doing a not as described, or saying I'm going to send back the book, and then they send you back a fake book, but they give you a shipping number. Then eBay says, oh, no, you've received the shipping number, so you must have gotten the book back. And there's just lots of other ways that have to do with shipping. So comic books are alive and well, guys, especially right now. It is June 2026, and some people say we're already in another bubble again, and blue chip keys are going back up. So if you're still thinking that the comic market is shrinking because you're not seeing sales on eBay, you might get left behind again, and by the time you get caught up, it might already be tanking again, like a lot of us just went through 5 years ago. Anyways, happy hunting, guys.